Gentleman reserves. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's nice to hear that people in Massachusetts are not talking about communism. But you know where they're talking about communism? Places like South Florida, places like Miami. It's because unlike those in Massachusetts, they experienced communism. They've experienced socialism. Ask any Cuban refugee. That's why you have individuals here like Mario Diaz-Balart, like Maria Salazar, like Carlos Jimenez that represent those districts. This is an issue to a lot of Americans because they never want to see the horrors of socialism and communism here on our shores. But you know, it's just not Cuba. Let's talk about China, because my friends across the aisle always hesitate to criticize and condemn China. It's quite remarkable. China has deprived 1.4 billion human beings of their fundamental human rights. Since March of 2017, China has detained and persecuted 1.8 million Turkic Muslims, the Uyghurs. And they put them in so-called political re-education camps. We all know what those are. Those are death camps, those are gulags, and the Chinese have them in their western province. In the world is silent on it, and my colleagues from across the aisle refuse to condemn socialism. Those Uyghurs being held in the western province without due process. They're being forced to engage in labor, forced organ harvesting. They're suffering atrocities like torture. And yet again, my Democratic colleagues will refuse to condemn socialism today. The CCP hasn't just violated the rights of the Uyghurs in Western China, they've also subjugated Tibet. It used to be a cause célèbre for my friends across the aisle to talk about freeing Tibet. When I was growing up in the 90s, you saw the bumper stickers everywhere. Where's that outrage now from my Democratic colleagues? Why won't they call out China? In Tibet, the CCP has engaged in severe repression of the Tibetan unique religious, cultural, and linguistic heritage, and is engaged in gross human rights violations in Tibet, including, but not limited to, extrajudicial detentions, disappearances, and torture. Elsewhere, the CCP is widely alleged to be a major harvester and trafficker of forcible acquired organs. Organ harvesting targets minorities, including the Falun Gong, Uyghurs, Tibetan, Muslims, and Christians in China. Yet where's the outrage from my friends across the aisle? Why won't they condemn socialism here today on the House floor? The CCP attempts to eliminate minority peoples through forced abortion and sterilization. Where's the outrage from across the aisle? There are 30 million more men in China than women due to forced abortions in the one-child policy, the result of big government socialism. And yet again, my friends from across the aisle will refuse to condemn socialism. I want to yield 3 minutes to my good friend, the gentleman from Georgia, the good doctor,